Sir, that's
It
not
is a business
service.
model. It's not, I'm not
That's
saying
not
it's
service.
I'm saying it's
But
having
see,
an impact on society.
An elected official is service. That's the disconnect.
That's right. So
that you're
now,
missing, that they didn't
I'm
teach you.
moving on to there are phases of our lives where we do different things.
Well, you're moving straight all the way up to President of the United States.
You know, I don't view it as a hierarchy. I don't view it as a hierarchy. I don't believe in hierarchies. The hierarchy is the way the bureaucracy works. I don't believe in so we have a difference in opinion.
You also don't believe in service, and that's where we're having a disconnect.
Well, I disagree with you on that.
Ain't nothing changed, nothing new here to see. This ain't nothing but some political maneuvering. America. Welcome to the eulogy, eat it up. It's called political buffoonery.
You know, guys, I love politics. I really, really do. But what I can't stand about people in politics is when they act dishonestly and in bad faith. And today is a perfect example of that. Welcome back to This Week in DUMBmocracy, a show about newsmakers who are just making complete buffoons of themselves, where we break down clips to show you exactly why they are the buffoons that they are, based upon their actions and their own words. It's not going to be me putting words in their mouth. They're going to be doing it themselves. And I do this by putting the principles of my book to good use. And what book is that? Schnooks, Crooks, Liars, and Scoundrels, a field guide to identifying political buffoons, available now on Amazon and at Barnes & Noble and other fine bookstores online. And we're soon going to get into some physical bookstores as well. Look out for that soon. So we're talking about dishonest brokers, and the context of this is a conversation on The Breakfast Club, which is a syndicated radio show. It also is on BET, a nationally known show featuring Charlamagne the God, DJ Envy. People should know the show as a hotbed for political discussion. You see a lot of politicians go on the show, especially during campaign seasons. I believe this was the show where Hillary Clinton pulled out that bottle of hot sauce or something like that. It might be the same show. But we're dealing with the interview done on the show with Vivek Ramaswamy. I don't know how to pronounce your name, sir. I apologize for it right now. Vivek Ramaswamy. And I'm not going to play the whole clip. Go to the Breakfast Club's YouTube page itself. The full interview is there. See it for yourself. I'm not going to try to take anything out of context. I'm going to put the portion that I want to talk about in this clip. And we're talking about the segment involving I guess it's a guest host or a contributor to the show named Tezlyn Figaro, or Tezlyn Figaro. I apologize, ma'am, if I'm mispronouncing your name. I want to get into this line of questioning, not only to show how freaking idiotic it is, and believe me, I'm not exaggerating here, but also to show you the dishonesty that sets this up. So let's get into the beginning of the clip. To give a little context, Ramaswamy just finished talking about his plan for civil service and young people. In case you don't know what that is, the discussion is that if you serve your country in a civic way between the ages of 18 and 25, you get your full citizenship. If you want it before 25 and you don't want to serve, you have to take a test equivalent to what immigrants would take to gain their own citizenship. I don't know exactly how I feel about that plan, but let's put that aside a moment, because what Tezlyn here is going to be doing is using that policy position as a vector of attack on Ramaswamy, and doing so very disingenuously. So let's get to the setup for this whole hatchet job, as you'll see.
Well, I got a test. I would like to see if you're willing to pass, because I believe in, just as you believe in civic engagement, I believe in changing the ideas of what political opponents look like, what they should look like, or political candidates. Are you willing to take a test with me quickly? Because I just have a couple of questions for you.
I will, absolutely. And the way this is opening up, I have a feeling I'm about to fail it, but that's good. Let's do it.
That's right. Yeah.
That's right. In response to saying that he's about to fail it? Well, okay, so that's, talk about salting the results there. I guess she has no faith that she's going to pass this setup that she's trying to spring on him. But let's get to the parameters of what exactly she's trying to accomplish here.
Just for clarity, I am an independent. I'm not a Democrat or a Republican. Cool. I think that's important for the premise of the argument, because I know you did a lot of debating at Harvard.
Okay, so you see what she's trying to do there? I'm not a Democrat. I'm not a Republican. I'm independent. and therefore I am an honest broker here, and I'm not coming from any sort of position of trying to get you, help you, harm you, whatever. I'm going to call BS on this, folks. And the reason why I'm calling BS on this is because I did my research. And in doing my research, I found Tezlyn's website, which explains her background. And, well, let's take a look at it right now. So this is from the About Us page, or the About Tezlyn page, I should say, from TezlynFigaro.com. And what do we find here? Well, lo and behold, Tezlyn was the National Racial Justice Director for the Bernie Sanders presidential campaign, where she worked in his senior leadership, which in a pivotal role to several successes during the campaign, including the historic win in the Michigan primary, where Tezlyn arranged a meeting with families impacted by the Flint water crisis and Senator Sanders. Does that sound like an independent to you? Or does that sound like a partisan to you? This is very important, folks. When someone tries to set up that, I got no dog in this fight, I'm not a Democrat, I'm not a Republican, for all we know, she could be Working Families Party, she could be registered liberal, depending upon where she lives, she could be registered no party. But don't say you're an honest broker, or don't try to intimate that you're an honest broker, when you're clearly not an honest broker.
I also want to make it clear these are the same questions that I asked liberal Democrat Marianne Williamson. So I want to make sure that we put that out there as well, just to kind of set.
Okay, so she's still trying to set up, I'm just being honest, I'm asking you the same question I asked the Democrat. Okay, but you're disingenuous about your background. You're not disclosing that you've worked for Democrats before. Let's really.
The foundation.
I'm open to being humbled. Let's do this.
Okay, great. Let's go.
And to Vivek's credit, he's coming in here with the right attitude. He knows this is a trap coming. He knows that there's going to try to be a gotcha moment here, but he is being open and transparent in this interview. He's ready for whatever it is, and he doesn't care about any sort of gotcha moment or anything like that. Remember, he's running for president on the Republican line. He's not trying to win voters over for a primary right now. He's getting his name out there. This is a news-making event for him, not a voter turnout event, not trying to win votes at this point. We're in the summer before the election year. Of course, we're not looking to win votes right now. He's getting his name out there, and he's doing so in a way that other Republicans aren't doing this. So this is win-win for him. Vivek's playing with house money right now.
So you mentioned, the pride of being an American and how important it is to have pride in this country. I'm also a veteran, by the way, for the United States Air Force. So when is it that you voted for the first time?
I voted in 2020.
Okay, so you're how old again?
I'm 37 years old.
So for how many years you sat around and did not get involved?
Remember that phrase, sat around. Already she's characterizing the fact that Ramaswamy has not voted except until 2020 as sitting around. Let's remember that for a moment.
Involved at all in any civic engagement? Is that my understanding?
A long time is the answer. And actually, that's what I wrote this book about. I'm not holding myself out as some sort of model. I'm actually offering myself as a self-reflection of my journey as a citizen to whom this country has given much, right? As an adult, when you have kids, it changes your perspectives. I'm very honest about that.
Great response by Vivek here. He's not holding himself out for being the model of civil service. In fact, his whole campaign is pitching himself as the outsider, sort of what Donald Trump did in 2016. I haven't held a public office. I'm a businessman, and in the business world, in the private sector, I have to get results. I have to get verifiable results, measurable results. So that's his whole campaign. He's the outsider. He's not going to talk about his civic engagement and his civic bona fides. But Tezlyn here doesn't really care about his outside work. She wants to press her point to the point of absurdity, as you'll see.
Absolutely.
Okay, no problem. So let's go deeper into the self-reflection. So you've sat around and sir, I'm being as respectful as I possibly can, please.
That's not being respectful at all. Saying sat around again is again trying to characterize his factual assertion that he only started voting in 2020. He wasn't sitting around or not paying attention. He didn't say that he was doing that. He just said that he wasn't civically engaged. How many of us are civically engaged in our 20s and 30s? I know that I was, but I'm kind of the exception to the rule. there are many 20-somethings and 30-somethings out there that don't pay attention to politics, some willfully and some at their own peril, really. But again, sat around. I don't think that if you know Vivek Ramaswamy's background, Harvard, Yale Law, where he got his JD, biotech, successful biotech company that got drugs past the FDA, some of them life-saving. I don't think sat around is how he got to where he is right now.
Please don't take anything
and you don't even have to be. And you don't even have to be. So take it off and let's go.
So you've been sitting around in the
third time, just saying,
country that my ancestors built for about 20 years. Your parents came over as immigrants, brought you over. You made millions, according to your resume, off of this country. And you.
Okay, so that's kind of offensive. Your parents came here and lived off the country that my ancestors built? Okay, that sounds a little intolerant of immigrants, doesn't it? And by the way, for those who probably know this, you have to be born in this country to be eligible to run for president. Remember that whole controversy with Ted Cruz? So Vivek was born here. He was born in Ohio. To say that he was brought here is completely inaccurate. So Tezlyn doesn't know her facts even.
Have absolutely not been involved in civics. One, not voting, and two, let me just ask, because I know you mentioned earlier you don't want to sit around at the debate and talk about accomplishments. Let's make the accomplishments pretty simple. In high school, were you ever a class president or take any leadership role? Because your opponent did, Chris Christie.
What? Is she serious right now? We're talking about high school government, student government? Really? Okay.
He was the class president. So have you ever taken any leadership at all on anything or just?
Can I just correct a couple factual things that are kind of important? My parents didn't bring me over to the country. I was born in this country, and I'm proud of that.
No, I know you were born here in Ohio.
Yeah. Ohio. You mentioned my parents.
I'm saying your parents were immigrants. My apologies.
That's all right. You said your parents brought you over to this country. I thought
my
I would set that record straight.
I mean, they were immigrants, but let's not go down the water hole.
No. We're not going to water. I just want to correct a couple facts, and then the other thing is
you were born here in Ohio.
I was born in Cincinnati, Ohio. That's right.
Right. So you've been here your entire life. So the question is. Did you take any leadership role in middle school, high school, class president?
I did.
I know you played tennis. What is it? Explain it to us.
Student council. But I think that this is yes, I have held leadership roles over my life, but those don't qualify me to do what I'm doing now.
Yeah, it kind of does.
Okay,
I'm sorry. So being on student council qualifies you for the highest office in the world, the most powerful office in the world. I guess I'm announcing then. I mean, I was in student government in high school. I'm in. Okay, sure.
It does. Well, I'm giving the test. I'm the test administrator.
All right, there you go.
So it kind of does.
And you see what she's doing there? She's trying to take control of the situation. He answered the question very briefly. He said, yeah, I was on student council. But she's still going with this really stupid line of questioning.
Because when you go from saying I want to go to the highest office,
and I'll tell you, I've led companies as well. Is the other leader?
Right,
the main leadership role I played is and I want to talk about one early part of your premise that I also want to say, bring it to the country point. The other point, you use the word sitting around.
Yes, Vivek is hitting on the point that I told you to pick up on. He's going to push back on this whole sitting around narrative that Tezlyn Figaro was trying to push on people here.
I'm not somebody who's saying I want the next generation, my kids' generation, to have more civic duties when they graduate from high school and college than I did when I did. That being said, I wasn't sitting around. I've developed medicines, 5 of which are FDA-approved products today, one of which is a life-saving therapy in kids, 20 of whom die by the age of 3 if they're not treated, 70% of whom now live lives of a normal duration. Another one for prostate cancer. So I don't apologize for making contributions. But
right. Well, I don't want you to filibuster that because
Just
that's not the question that I asked. And I don't consider, as a veteran, I'm talking about service. I'm not talking about what you did for profit. Yeah. I'm not talking about what you paid people to do with your company.
So I've not served the.
Listen to all the insinuations there. I'm talking about service because I'm a veteran. Just so we know that being a soldier is something you're also paid for. So calm down a second. And the insinuation that you paid people to do the things that you saying that you accomplished. He led that company. He led the development of that. That means something. That's also leadership. And by the way, it's also leadership to navigate through the FDA, to navigate through government hurdles to get drugs, tested and passed and approved. This is not a small task, and she's minimizing it so she can talk about student government? Are you kidding me? Because this is YouTube, I know I can curse. This woman's testing my last nerve, really. Like what you see so far? Go ahead and smash that thumbs up button. Also, leave us a comment and tell us what you're thinking. And don't forget to subscribe so you never miss another show.
Because that means nothing to me. It means nothing to her. His accomplishments that he can rightfully assert prove that he is a leader of men and women means nothing to her. But let's talk about student government. My God.
She's been able to ask a question. She's been trying to ask a question, and you've been talking over her.
I'm all ears.
Whoa, wait a minute here. So now DJ Envy is trying to I guess police the conversation, saying that he's been talking over her. She's been interrupting him just as much. If you go back and watch and see for yourself. Obviously, he's taking up for a contributor to his show. But again, back up a minute here. They've been talking over each other. You want to chastise him because you have power over him because it's your show and he's the guest? Okay. But again, that's trying to put Vivek in a false light here. Again.
We gave you the platform to let you say
I'm all defensive. I'm all ears. No, I was just correcting a couple facts.
She hasn't had a chance to ask
a
question yet. Every time she tries to ask a question, you've been cutting her off. Good.
I'm all ears.
Right. So my question again is, you're trying to, your goal is to raise the standard, and you're saying you want people to believe in country and you want people to have civic engagement. Yeah. And sir, I just find it very telling that you haven't had any civic engagement at all and haven't been at all. And when I say sit around, I don't mean you haven't done anything. I'm talking about in regards to service, because one thing about political office, the same way that you want to change how people look at politics and look at this country, I want to change how people look at politicians. And when I see that someone hasn't did anything at all to be of service to mankind, to take a leadership role, it's not good enough to just be on city student council. Were you a leader? All of that applies. Have you been able to get anybody in the room at any time, from a high school gymnasium to Ohio, Republican leadership there to now? Have you been able to get anybody in a room to believe in this vision? I don't agree with a lot of your vision statement, but I do know you've been going around having these discussions and getting everybody emotionally worked up to talk about vision and debate. But I want to get to the practical. You're trying to go from preschool to president of the United States. You're skipping over city council, county council, mayor, governor. You want to go straight to the top. So my question is, this a PR? Is this for the PR, the perception of reality? Or can you point to any leadership where you've been able to get people to believe in what you're talking about that they're not paid to do on any of these vision statements that you have? If not, then to me, it's a moot point, because you're
moot point. But let's put that aside for a minute. I don't even know where to begin with this whole tirade. First of all, this is some very left-leaning thinking right here. The idea that there is a pecking order in service, that you have to go through the ranks and work your way up through in order to run for office. There's nothing in the Constitution that says you have to do that as far as a requirement to run for president. And by the way, not everyone takes that road to service. Some people go through the private sector and, I don't know, develop drugs that serve mankind and keep people alive. That too is also a service to mankind. And yes, he got paid for that service, just like a soldier gets paid for their service, just like a politician gets paid for their service. But by trying to denigrate that, I don't know if that is a socialist mindset because he made money off of it. He made a lot of money off of it. He is proud that he did that, and she doesn't like that and is trying to denigrate it. Or if she's just that freaking stupid. And let's be clear, I don't think she's stupid. I think she's calculating. I think this is completely disingenuous. And I think that this is an attack that she's trying to lob at this guy. But let's continue on.
You're holding a standard that you haven't met yourself.
But that's what he said. He already said that he wants to raise the standard beyond what his lived experience was. And he's been upfront about that. So what exactly is the attack here again?
So if you're only going to count government service, you're absolutely
No, not government
right.
service.
Okay.
Student council in the 8th grade, 9th grade, 10th, where you elite.
Seriously? Seriously. Look, I as someone who went through student government, at the time, student government was a big deal. But as I sit here today, no.
Leader, did you do anything to rally anybody? Did you fight for better lunch? I did in the 6th grade with Miss Harris. I'm not talking about government. I can go all the way back from the 5th grade every year, sir, because people who are in service to this country, if you're going to go around saying you want people to believe in this country that I signed up to die for, then I want to make sure that you're holding that same standard. So not government, not political. Let's not get it confused. I'm saying, have you did anything of service that we can point to say he is a good leader, like Chris? And I'm not even a fan of Chris Christie, but he was the student council president in high school. So have you done anything of service besides yourself that has not benefited yourself? It's just a simple question.
So
this fixation on high school government service is completely buffoonish.
The acts of service that I have performed are small, so small that I don't even want to talk about them to boast. But yes, have I volunteered for this country? Yes, I have. I've always been interested in healthcare.
It's okay to talk about the small things.
I mean, these are small things, right? But thank you.
No, well, let's just mention
Bethesda North Hospital.
So it's really a no?
No, it's not a no. It's just something I don't like boasting about. I volunteered.
We're not boasting. It's an interview.
So
You're boasting on your vision and everything else.
I think
you boasted on the millions of dollars that you made. So let's just throw it out. So in 6th grade, I'll give.
This is getting absolutely ridiculous. The minutia of nonsense that. Who exactly is this for? Is this for her own entertainment now at this point? That she's going to talk about what she did in 6th grade now, apparently. So let's see what she did in 6th grade. Sure, why not?
Give you an example. I'll help you out. In 6th grade, Miss Harris, Miss Harris was slapped. Let me give you an example because maybe.
Can they let the man answer the question? Where's DJ Envy right here, trying to say let the man answer the question you posed? You just gave like a 3-minute question, and now you're not letting the man answer. Let the man answer in his own way.
You're confused. In the 6th grade, Miss Harris was snatching papers from everybody in the classroom. So me as a 10-year-old, I went to the principal and said, I'm tired of Miss Harris snatching papers. And I organized the students around getting Miss Harris to stop snatching papers. Now, there was a consequence for that. I got suspended for 5 days for talking back, and I got in trouble. I got a spanking, and I was on punishment for months and months. But that is a simple way of organizing people. So I want you to kind of boast about it the way you did the millions of dollars and said what you did with the pharmaceutical companies. What leadership can you point to that you've been able to rally anybody around anything that is of service that you did not pay anybody to do? I think that's important for the next president of the United States.
Sure.
So forget about all that life-saving stuff you've done. What'd you do in the 6th grade? If it wasn't on tape, I wouldn't have believed that this is the actual conversation that he had to put up with.
So I've always been drawn to healthcare. That's why I ended up founding companies in that space. When I was in high school, part of what drew me into it was that I was a volunteer at a local hospital. I actually became the leader of that group of volunteers that actually discharged women who had recently given birth. That was it. Nothing big to it.
Did you do anything we can point to stand out?
But I want to say something about that because I say that in the book. If I'm being really honest, why did I do that in high school? A part of the motivation, I'll be just brutally honest with you, was part of the motivation was that's actually what allows you to get into a good college when you graduate. Is you want to check the box of community service. So it was about you.
So there was an element. So
there's and I'm admitting that in a way that very few other people do. But I got to be honest about it. That was a big part of why I did it.
Yeah, it was about self, and I'm going to be honest, and I'm going to give it back to the guys. I'm going to be honest about it with you.
Yep.
Leadership is not about self.
I agree with you on that.
What I just heard is that everything is about you. And to be honest with you, this is just a PR campaign, sir. To be honest with you, and I think you're trying to go.
And there's the attack. We're finally getting to it. This is what she's been leading up to the whole time. That this is only about you. This is a PR stunt and this whole thing. This is absolute nonsense. This is a hit job of the worst type. The disingenuousness, the hypocrisy, it's the worst. This is the worst of politics that we're seeing right now.
Further to the right because you want the Republicans to accept you as a man of color, and I think the only way you think you can do that is to be so extreme.
I appreciate your opinion
with your positions, and I think you need to do a little bit more work in service. I'll give it back to you guys.
Let me ask, because she did ask me a question, and then you guys said you wanted to hear a response, but I think I heard an expression of opinion. So just I want to make sure you're all done.
So now Vivek is ready to rumble here, I think.
Before I respond to it.
No, just wanting to say that even then, I would still want you to point out, even at the hospital, something that you did that made you stand out on when actually taking a leadership role. But you already answered it. You said you did it because it was a motivation to get in college.
Exactly.
Which means it was
I'm being
about
very
you.
honest about that. But
everything has been about you. So as a veteran,
let me tell you something. I appreciate
it's very hard for me to follow leaders.
Seriously, we're going to play the veteran card again. This is why people hate dishonest work. This is why people hate politics. This sort of I keep coming back to this word, disingenuous posturing is why people hate politics. This is not a serious discussion. This is not a discussion of an introduction of a candidate. What have you done in your life? This is an attack. This is a hit job. This is complete and total BS is what it is.
That make everything about them. So you might want to work on that because it's a lot of veterans and Republicans. So you might want to work on that talking point and maybe do some volunteering while you're on the campaign trail. I'm going to give it back to Charlamagne and Envy.
Yeah, I want to be respectful. Want to make sure you got everything you wanted to on the table before I respond to that.
If this was just us, it would be a lot more.
You guys tell me. I'm the guest on your show. You tell me when I'm good to speak.
Go ahead, sir.
Go ahead.
You sure?
Mm-hmm.
You sure about that? If we're good.
Yeah, we're sure.
So I think there's a different worldview that we have. And I think the worldview is how one actually makes contributions in a country. I do not believe that there's a separate category of just if you're serving the country and then if you're acting in self-interest, that's somehow sinful or wrong. I reject that vision. To the contrary, I think capitalism is the best system known to man to lift people up from poverty. I deeply respect and I thank you for your service to this country. I'm grateful for it. I haven't served the country in the way that you have. But I think that the way you get ahead in capitalism, how did I develop a multi-billion-dollar biotech company? It was by developing medicines that save people's lives.
A lot of people say capitalism causes poverty.
Yeah, I disagree with that.
Okay.
I disagree with that. I think that capitalism demands that you provide something to someone that helps them more than you're actually charging them for it. That's the only way.
That's
the
a
tried
business
and true
model,
way
sir. That's
it
not
is a business
service.
model. It's not. I'm not saying
that's not
it's
service.
I'm saying it's having an impact on us.
Oh, she did not like that because finally Ramaswamy got to talk. It's a miracle, and he is talking about his worldview, and it doesn't go with Tezlyn Figaro's worldview for sure. Clearly, by hitting the capitalism button, he's exposing the socialist nature of the discussion that they wanted to set, and he's rejecting that premise. And going back to something that I mentioned earlier, there's more than one road to the presidency. There's more than one road to service to the country. Some people serve the country by creating life-saving drugs, and then they charge money for it. But in doing so, can you really say that the charge for the drug is anything in comparison to extending the life of someone and what that means to that person? And would that drug have been developed privately if everybody was just student body president and then went to county chairman and went up through the apparatus to get to a certain place and stayed in the pecking order and went through the whole rigmarole of political ascendancy? Probably not. But let's see let's get to the end of the video and then we'll cap it off here. Oh Lord, this one's trying me, folks.
An elected official is service. That's the disconnect.
That's right. So
that you're missing, that they didn't teach
I'm moving on to there are phases of our lives where we do different things.
Well, you're moving straight all the way up to President of the United States.
You know, I don't view it as a hierarchy. I don't view it as a hierarchy. I don't believe in hierarchies. The hierarchy is the way the bureaucracy works. I don't believe in so we have a difference in opinion.
You also don't believe in service, and that's where we're having a disconnect.
Well, I disagree with you on that.
Whoa. See? And there it is. That's the hit job. If you're an honest broker, you're not taking pot shots at people like that. She did not come into this as an honest broker. She claimed to be independent, saying that she's not Democrat, she's not Republican, but we know that she has a definite point of view and a definite bias. And by trying to pass herself off as being independent, that is complete hypocrisy. Well, that's it for this video. This was a little bit of a long one, folks, and I appreciate you sticking with me on this. Tell me what you think in the comments about Tezlyn, Figaro, Vivek Ramaswamy, The Breakfast Club, the whole shebang here. Leave a comment. Let me know what you think. Am I totally off base? Should I not be flying off the handle here? Let me know in the comments. Share the show with your friends. Subscribe to the channel. And we'll see you later this week in DUMBmocracy.
All views and opinions expressed here are not necessarily of the mainstream media and may offend some listeners. It's called political buffoonery.